guys, so now that it's come to almost the very end of the year as of recording this of the 28th of December, I just wanted to round off the top 10 favourite films that I saw this year. Now, there was a lot of, it was a pretty interesting year for movies, 2022. There were a few major hits, but there were also many that kind of fell under the radar. There was a lot of stuff that probably most people would consider to be pretty average. A lot of stuff that probably a lot of people didn't really see. But there were definitely a few movies that really did stand out and really did bring in like the majority of people to see, like an exciting blockbuster movie. But overall, in list of 10 to 1, these were the top 10 movies that I remember most and enjoyed most that came out of this very interesting and pretty tumultuous year. Though, as long as there will be life, there will be movies, or at least I hope there will. So, but anyway, here's the top 10 most incredible movies and enjoyable movies that, in my opinion, came out this year. So let's go. So rounding off at number 10 is Violent Night, starring David Harbour. As probably most people know him as Hopper from Stranger Things. But in this movie, he plays as Santa. I really did like this rendition of Santa. They really like kind of going into like the more traditional side. There were parts of the movie where it kind of was like, feel like he had like these tattoos on him. I kind of feel like that was supposed to be something that was pagan. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know that much about paganism, but like, I think it's some sort of like tribal tradition or something. But overall, let's not talk about no religion in this. But overall, this was a very enjoyable Christmas movie. It was very violent, as the title suggests. There was a lot of action. It kind of felt a bit like Die Hard in a lot of ways. And of course, as most people are saying, it's kind of like an adult version of Home Alone, with a lot of trap similarities, but instead it's like it's not PG. It's like MA-15 American R rating with blood and gore and screaming and swearing. And overall, I thought it was just a lot of fun. Definitely, probably it's one of the most recent movies that I've seen since it only came out like less than a month ago. But overall, I had a good time with it. Coming up at number 9, this is probably one that will surprise a few people. It did surprise me as well, and this is the only animated film that made onto this list, and that is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I have always been a pretty big fan of DreamWorks. I've liked their style of humour over the years and their style of animation, of how they kind of like bounce off Pixar in like a lot of ways. I love the first 2 Shrek movies. I love the first 2 How to Train Your Dragon movies. The third one's good too. But I'm more for the first 2. And this is coming from somebody who didn't really enjoy the first Puss in Boots that much. It was okay, but it was very throwaway and very a bit average when it comes to Pixar movies. It's kind of like on the same level as like Shrek the Third or like Shark Tale for me. But overall, I did like this movie. I liked how DreamWorks were kind of going for a more different animation style than what they used to. It's kind of like a mix between like the original DreamWorks style, but it kind of has a bit of like a cel-shaded sort of bit more like drawn-in effect. And I like how it kind of jumps back and forward between parts of the movie, but it never feels jarring. It's a very seamless like blend of these 2 styles. And I liked that. The story was pretty good too. I liked the puppy character. He was funny. He was also pretty cute. Overall, fine, fun family movie, and it was probably the best family movie that came out all year. Okay, so for taking the number 8 spot is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Now, I did enjoy this movie. I also really did enjoy the first Black Panther movie as well, but I think the reason why it is on my top 10 list is definitely because of Chadwick Boseman's untimely passing and how respectful they were in making this movie. It is basically a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, but there's a lot of other things as well. I guess one complaint I have for the movie, it did feel like it went on for a bit too long. It did drag at certain parts, and I do kind of feel a bit relieved when it was finally over. But overall, it was entertaining, well directed, and the female performances were really good as well in this movie. Overall, a very diverse movie, a very action-packed movie. I liked the exploding water balloons. I thought the way that they shot water in this movie was very good as well. A lot of good underwater scenes. Overall, a very solid Marvel sequel, and definitely one that I'll probably watch a few more times. Coming in at number 7 is the sci-fi horror film Nope, directed by Jordan Peele. I had a really good time with this movie. I think the way it did suspense was really brilliant. I mean, the UFO itself is very eerie. It is very creepy. I mean, it doesn't make any noise at all when it moves, and something about that just really creeps me out, really gives me goosebumps. It moves really fast as well, and again, makes no noise. It's just something very off about this object, and that's what I loved about it. Had a very an otherworldly feel, had a very strange feel. I mean, the setting, like the ranch with the horses, was pretty different as well. Overall, a very well directed suspense horror movie, and another good effort from Jordan Peele. Coming up at number 6 is probably the one movie that made me laugh more than any other movie that came out this year, and that was the comedy action film The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nick Cage as himself. I forget who directed this movie, but it also starred Pedro Pascal in it too, and it was basically this story, almost kind of like this self-aware ego trip for Nicolas Cage, though it's self-aware. It's a very meta movie, all about like the life and career and success of Nicolas Cage and his style of acting, and Nicolas Cage is really let loose in this film, as well as Pedro. Overall, and the setting was great. I loved the Italian cliffside, beachside scenes. It had a very it almost kind of had like this sort of like this cheesy 80s like crime action thriller feel to it as well, which I also liked. But overall, and the action in this movie was also very well shot and very well directed. I haven't seen it since the theatre, but I'm definitely going to watch it a few more times next year, probably buy it on Blu-ray or something, because I did really enjoy this one. Alright, so taking up the halfway spot of this list is Amsterdam, starring Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and forgive me, I forget the third black actor, but he was great in it too. And it followed kind of like this really intricate, very unpredictable, non-linear story set around the friendship of 3 people in Amsterdam. Taylor Swift is also in the movie for a very short amount of time. She's killed off about 15 minutes in, and the entire movie kind of revolves around like who murdered Taylor Swift, basically. I did find this film to be pretty hard to follow, I will say that. When it was over, I had a very hard time like with my brain like going back throughout the movie and trying to remember all the things that happened, because it was a very like convoluted story. But I did like how it took me on a ride with a lot of twists and turns and a lot of revelations towards the end. And overall, I found it to be very interesting and very entertaining. Definitely, probably the most thoughtful movie of the entire movie, minus one, which I will get onto later. So at number 4 is another movie which I thought was very funny. It didn't make me laugh as hard as The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, but this one definitely made me chuckle every now and then, and that was Bullet Train, starring Brad Pitt. I really like Japan. I've actually been to Japan once, and I have actually ridden the Shinkansen bullet train back in 2015, and I love the trains. I think they are incredible pieces of machinery, very well designed, very sleek, very fast, very quiet too. And of course, there's a movie about fast trains, so I'm definitely going to be interested about seeing that. And overall, it was just a flat out, romp really. It was all set on this train, and you'd think that would get boring. Like, I've seen Snowpiercer, and I wasn't a real big fan of that one. But this is nothing like Snowpiercer. This is much more vibrant, much more fast-paced, funny, quippy, very fun and cleverly written movie with a bunch of really funny characters, especially that British duo that was in it. I don't know the names of those actors, but the way those two actors played off each other was really funny. I liked how one of them was obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine and kept on referencing Thomas. I thought that was actually really funny. It was played really well in the movie, because I do know a few people that are like that. Overall, it was just a blast. It was a thrill ride from start to finish, with a bit of Japanese mythology and kung fu, samurai stuff thrown into it as well, which I also love. Overall, I think it was one of the best action movies of the year. Not the best, but it was one of the best. Okay, so now I've made it to my top 3. What will they be? So, coming in at number 3 is a movie that I was actually really excited about seeing for quite a while now, and I was so relieved to finally see it when it came out, and also more relieved that it didn't turn out to be a massive piece of crap. And that movie was... I actually did really enjoy this movie. I also really enjoyed Avatar 1 when it came out in 2009. I was only 12 when it came out, and I remember really adoring the movie when it came out. I do know that a lot of people don't like it, and people say that the story is weak and other things like that you've probably heard before. And even though I do agree that maybe the story was a bit too, environmentally preachy, that's really the only gripe I have with it. Everything else seems to be on point, and almost everything else is almost flawlessly executed. The direction is great. The CGI for the time was great. But talking about this movie, the way this movie is shot is even better than the first, and the underwater sequences are jaw-droppingly amazing. They are wonderful. The water is so fresh and clear. It's so smooth the way it moves. It's so nice to look at that you forget they're swimming in salt water. You feel like if you're in this movie and you open your mouth, the water would just taste so nice. But anyway, the creatures in the movie were great. I loved the big whale that they had in the movie. The new characters were good as well. I guess the characters could have been a bit more detailed. That's maybe another flaw that's with it. But overall, looks great, directed great, extremely immersive, makes you forget you're in a theatre, it makes you feel like you're there on that planet. It's another James Cameron movie that uses CGI in the right way, doesn't abuse it, only uses it when it's absolutely necessary for telling a story and creating a beautiful world. But overall, the action sequences were awesome. I loved the ocean setting. It was very expansive. It's kind of like, almost like Waterworld in a way, but done in a much better way than that movie, though. I don't dislike that movie, but this movie was definitely better than what I thought Waterworld was. But anyway, it's still in theatres. Definitely see it if you haven't seen it already, and try and see it in 3D. So I did say earlier that Amsterdam was the second most thought-provoking movie I've seen all year, and the most thought-provoking movie I've seen, which takes the number 2 spot, is... So this is a movie that really pushes and uses the multiverse theory to its fullest in a movie. I know Doctor Strange 2 did this as well, and I did like that movie as well, but I thought this movie did it much, much more brilliantly and much better than the Multiverse of Madness. Sorry about that, but I did like that movie, but I thought this movie was much more superior in that aspect. I did like how all the different timelines of this mother were explored, and being able to see all these different timelines of her, like making these different decisions, her becoming different types of people, all the branching pathways and all how they all connect, and like tracking the exact moment of like when your life gets thrown from one path to another, then back onto another path, and all the different forks in the road and the choices and the freedom. It was brilliant, and the action was insane in this movie. It was so incredibly shot. It was so well done. It was funny too. It was also kind of sad at some points, extremely absurd and crazy in other parts, sometimes also very inappropriate. But overall, it was a blast. It was this the most fun I had in a movie theatre until the number one spot. So what was the number one movie that I enjoyed the most this year? I probably think that a lot of you probably have guessed what my number one pick, and of course it is none other than Top Gun Maverick. This movie absolutely blew my brain away when I saw it. It was, the thing that blew my mind about this movie was how everything is practical. All the aerial fighter jet shots, none of it is fake, none of it is CGI, all of it is real, all of it is practical. Maybe the missiles are CGI, but all the planes you see and all the stunts and all the maneuvers, they're all real, all done by experienced pilots, and also all the shots inside the cockpit, those are real as well, and the backgrounds aren't CG'd or chroma keyed or green screen or anything like that. No, it's all done for real. Tom Cruise was amazing in this movie. This might be one of his best movies of all time, up there with Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, and Edge of Tomorrow, and Mission Impossible 1. And even though I do really enjoy the original Top Gun movie for what it is, Maverick is definitely the superior sequel. It is like the way Terminator 2 improved on Terminator 1, the way Aliens improved on Alien, I think the way Mad Max Fury Road improved on the original trilogy by George Miller. Well, that's debatable. Some people hate Mad Max Fury Road for some reason, but I love it. But anyway, it was incredible. Definitely, I know it's not in movies anymore, but if you ever get a chance to see this on the big screen, definitely take that chance, because it was amazing. I might even call it a masterpiece in aerial action dogfighting movies, because they're so rare. I mean, like Top Gun is like the only other one that I can think of that comes to mind, and it's just great seeing something like that put back on screen. And all the characters, Miles Teller had a really good performance as well. Val Kilmer was his scenes were very heartfelt and very touching for the time he was in the movie. All the other characters were memorable as well. Some characters even make a reappearance from the first movie that I won't tell if you haven't already seen the movie. Overall, just a blast from beginning to end, and I loved every minute of it, so that's why it is number one on this list. So that is my top 10 films of 2022. Time will tell if I will make a list of the worst, though. There weren't very many movies that came out this year that I really didn't like, that I probably will talk about the ones that I didn't think really made the mark and explain why I feel that way and how maybe that could be improved. But anyway, that is my final list of 2020. Well, my second final, my only list really, actually. But I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel and watching my videos. And as always, take care and have a happy new year.